Some men are born to lead, but only a rare few are destined to redefine leadership itself. Some men take charge when the moment demands it, but only a handful carve their names into history, standing tall against adversity, forging a legacy that will echo through time. This is the story of Graeme Smith, a man who carried the weight of a nation on his shoulders at an age when most are still finding their feet. A man who did not just rebuild South African cricket, but who made it stronger than ever before. A man who, against all odds, became Test cricket's greatest captain. This is not just a story of a cricketer. This is the story of a warrior, a leader, a legend. Graeme Smith was born on February 1st, 1981 in Johannesburg into a family with no cricketing pedigree, no tales of past glories, no history of cricketing greatness. But from the start, Smith was wired differently. As a child, he was a natural athlete, excelling in multiple sports. He played provincial soccer until he was 14 and represented his school in rugby, a sport that demanded toughness, resilience, and an appetite for battle, qualities that would later define him as a cricketer. Yet, cricket was his true calling. His father insisted he batted right-handed. After all, no one in their family had ever batted left-handed. But young Smith wasn't one to follow the script. Stubborn, defiant, and already showing signs of the leader he would become, he flatly refused. He was going to do things his way, just like he would throughout his entire career. At the age of 10, he scribbled a bold declaration on paper and stuck it on the fridge. "I will captain South Africa." It wasn't just a dream, it was a prophecy, an obsession. Every decision he made, every extra hour spent in the nets, every setback he endured, it was all leading toward that destiny. And the world was starting to take notice. At 19, he walked out for his first-class debut and announced himself with a thunderous 187. South Africa had found a man built for the long haul. They just didn't know yet that he was about to change the course of their cricketing history. After grinding through 3 tests and 7 ODIs for South Africa's under-19s, Graeme Smith got the call. The big one. The one he had been chasing since he was 10 years old. At just 21, he walked out for his first test match. But it wasn't some gentle initiation. It was Australia. In Australia, a baptism by fire. Bretley stared at him and said, "I'll kill you." Matthew Hayden sneered, "You're not good enough." This was war. The Aussies smelled fear and went straight for the kill. Smith barely survived. A nervous 3 in the first inning, but he wasn't one to stay down for long. In the second innings, he carved out a fighting 68, and although it wasn't a match-winning knock, it sent a message. He wasn't going anywhere. By his third test, he was thrust into the opening role alongside Herschel Gibbs. The response? A thunderous 200-run innings. No settling in, no half measures. He was here to dominate, and dominate he did. In his first 12 tests, he hammered 3 double centuries and a 151, and by the time he had played 25 tests, he was averaging 58. Not just a solid opener, a monster. One built to take on the toughest, to stand toe-to-toe with the best, and to make the game his own. Then came the moment that changed everything. South African cricket was in ruins. The Hansie Cronje scandal had shattered the nation's faith in the sport. Sean Pollock's captaincy had ended in heartbreak after the 2003 World Cup disaster. The team was lost, leaderless, drowning in uncertainty. And then, in a move that sent shockwaves through the cricketing world, a 22-year-old Graeme Smith, just 8 tests into his career, was handed the captaincy, the youngest test captain in South African history. The critics tore the decision apart. "He has no leadership credentials," they said. "This is madness," they argued. But Smith, he did not flinch. He did not ask for time or patience. He just took the weight of a cricketing nation on his back and carried it forward. He rebuilt trust. He reignited belief. He did not just make South Africa a strong side again. He turned them into world beaters. The fight was back. The hunger was back. And at the heart of it all was Graeme Smith, the stubborn kid who refused to back down. Smith's first real challenge came in England. He was barely into his second year of international cricket, and he had the tough job to captain South Africa in England. England's captain Nasser Hussain mockingly dismissed him as "what's his name" before the series. But Smith did not reply with words. He replied with a bat in hand. Less than a fortnight later, Graeme Smith did the unthinkable. The "what's his name" batted for over 9 hours, faced 377 balls, and destroyed England's attack to smash 277 runs, the highest test score ever by a South African at the time. He backed it up with 85 in the second innings, and as if that wasn't enough, he delivered a match-winning 259 at Lord's. Pure domination. England had no answers. Their bowlers were on their knees. Their captain was broken. By the end of the series, Nasser Hussain stepped down as Test captain. Smith, at just 22, had walked into England's backyard and torn them apart. These performances prompted Alex Stewart to call him the most impressive 22-year-old I've ever seen in cricket. Graeme Smith wasn't just a great captain, he was a conqueror. And his true genius as a leader shone after 2007. South Africa had not won a test series in England since 1965. That curse ended under Smith's reign. In 2008, he led his side to a historic series victory, forcing Michael Vaughan to resign. 4 years later, he did it again. This time, he sent Andrew Strauss into retirement. 3 England captains fell at the hands of Smith's Proteus. But his greatest conquest came on Australian soil. For 16 years, no team had beaten Australia in a test series at home. They were untouchable. But in December 2008, Smith's South Africa tore history apart. In Perth, they pulled off the impossible, chasing down 414, one of the highest successful run chases in history. In Melbourne, they finished the job, sealing the series and leaving Australia stunned. The fortress had fallen, the streak was over, and Graeme Smith had done the unthinkable.
Yeah, he has been. He took over from me as captain at a young age of 22, and in the game of cricket, longevity as a captain is not an easy thing to sustain. So, real credit to what he's done. At 22, some might have said maybe a little bit brash about some of the way he went about things. But you think about taking over a big job like that at that age, it's not going to be an easy thing to do, and you might make the odd mistake. But he's definitely grown into the role.
And then there was Sydney 2009. South Africa had already won the series. But in the final test, as Australia pushed for a consolation win, Smith's left hand was shattered by a brutal Mitchell Johnson thunderbolt in the first innings. Retired hurt, everyone assumed his tour was over. But in the second innings, as South Africa chased, the Australians erupted in celebration when Dale Steyn fell leg before to Andrew McDonald, the 9th wicket down. They thought the match was done. It was all over. But they were wrong.
Now wait a minute. Wait a minute, what's happening? Graeme Smith is coming out to bat. Graeme Smith is coming out to bat. A series that has gripped us from first to last continues to do so. The drama is by no means done. This is a mighty figure. One of the great men of the modern game, and Sydney is standing to him.
His innings lasted just 17 balls and 26 minutes before Johnson finally shattered his defenses. But in that brief moment, he became immortal. He did not just defy pain, he defied cricketing logic. South Africa had already won the series, but Smith's act of courage meant more than any trophy.
It's just an awesome effort and just shows how courageous, he is.
Just 1 year before those legendary triumphs in England and Australia, Graeme Smith was fighting a battle off the field. The tension between him and the South African Cricket Board had reached breaking point. The president Norman Arends had made it clear, "I defer to the captain and the coach. They are the ones who will be held responsible for the team's results." The message was clear: fail and you're gone. And what did Smith do? He didn't just survive, he dominated. Over the next 12 months, his South African side conquered England, crushed Australia, and fought India to a stalemate. 11 test wins, a batting average of 85, and a captain who refused to bow down. The pressure was meant to break him. Instead, it forged him into a leader for the ages. Graeme Smith's batting was often overshadowed by his captaincy. But make no mistake, he was a warrior with the bat. Not the most elegant, not the most orthodox, but undeniably effective. He did not succeed because of his technique. He succeeded despite it. Across 117 tests, he scored 9,265 runs at 48.25. 109 of those matches were as captain, during which he racked up 8,659 runs at 47.83, including 25 of his 27 centuries. In ODIs, Smith played 197 matches, scoring 6,989 runs at 37.98 with 10 centuries and 47 50s. But if you really want to understand his greatness, look at the 4th innings of Test cricket. That was his battlefield, his domain. Only Sachin Tendulkar has more 4th innings runs, just 11 more. When the game was on the line, when survival meant everything, Smith was the man you wanted at the crease. No one in history led more tests than Smith in history. And there's more. 53 test wins as captain. Again, the most ever. 15 centuries in victories, the highest by any skipper. Graeme Smith was more than a captain. He was a symbol of resilience. A leader who dragged South African cricket out of darkness and into the light. He faced fire, took bullets, and stood tall when his team needed him the most. He wasn't just South Africa's captain, he was their warrior king. So guys, that's it for today's video. If you wish to look at how good was Jacques Kallis or how good was Mark Boucher, click on one of the videos being displayed on your screen. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Until next time, keep watching this beautiful game. See you soon.